Short my boyfriend $200 plus? Enjoy your divorce. Traditional LTL and FTP, forgive me for any formatting or grammar errors. Hope y'all get a kick out of this. It's a super long one. A lot of people know I read it, so some details have been changed, but overall the story is as accurate as can be. So this whole debacle started in my freshman year of college. I went to a religious college, so there were a lot of really strict rules regarding curfew and punishments for not going to the mandatory worships. This comes into play later. Background on me: I am not a physically imposing young lady, just under 5 feet and 100 pounds, soaking wet and wearing cinderblock shoes. At this time I had been recently dumped, and so I was starting college practically alone, as my ex and I were set to go to the same university, but he dropped out to join military school. Before we start, let's denote some names. Me, of course. Andy, is my dear boyfriend, now fiancé Jess, one of my best friends and roommate after the first quarter, and finally the antagonist of the tale, Sam, not real names of course, and at the start of this we were all 18, we are all 24-25 now. As this was a religious school, we had a sort of camp out in the week or two before classes started. It was meant to be a getting to know you kind of thing, and so we had things called family groups. I was a little freaked out, but in the group there was one loud, overly friendly girl named Sam. Sam was the same ethnicity as me, and so we quickly bonded over a shared ethnic background and how similar we were. She had a boyfriend in the army, and I lamented my single status and how my ex basically ditched me for the Navy. She seemed perfect, sympathetic, social, and fun. I warmed up to our family group with the help of my new best friend. We had a great weekend, and got to know others in the group, including Jess. Jess was more quiet and disinterested, with a classic case of resting BTCH face, but eventually she warmed up to me and I to her. Sam didn't really like them, but you wouldn't know it unless she told you. The first sign of something off with her was during dinner. I was sitting with Jess and her friend from high school, Andy. He and I really hit it off, but as my heart was still freshly broken, I kept some boundaries up but agreed to go watch a movie when we got back from the trip. Immediately Sam pulled up a chair and was all over him, asking about his past, how he and Jess met, what he thought about her outfit, and on and on. I was a little miffed but just ate my burrito. For the rest of the trip Andy and I were hardly apart, and Sam got more and more passive-aggressive with me, bringing up my ex and how I was moving on too quickly. I believed her and cancelled my date with Andy, and said that I didn't want him to just be a rebound. He was understanding and chill with just being friends, which was a blessing for me, but seemingly not good enough for Sam. After the trip was over, I decided to show them around the city since I was a local student. While the others put their stuff in their rooms, Sam asked me to stay behind because she had to confess something to me. She started spewing some BS about how Andy had cornered her outside the cabin and was being a pervert and telling her how beautiful she was, so on and so forth. I was skeptical and made it known, but her response was just looking out for you, girly. By then the others came back and I just decided to ignore what she said and have a good time in the city. This was incident 1. A couple weeks go by, Andy, Jess, and I became a little squad of sorts because all our schedules matched up, whereas finding time to hang out with Sam was more than difficult. This all came to a head when Jess and Andy planned a little trip to the local Benihana place and didn't invite Sam. She found out via social media and flew off the handle. I had gone home for the weekend, and when I came back on Monday I was greeted with drama, tears, and accusations. The gist of the situation is, the group didn't invite Sam because she is vegetarian and has a lot of allergies, so it would be dangerous to even step foot in the Benihana, and in retaliation Sam took her best friends, aka random girls from the dorm, horseback riding, and posted a photo with the caption "Better than Benihana." Incident 2. Once again this is what I came back to, and so things were pretty frosty. I asked for some backstory and apparently, it was work friends who invited Andy and Jess, so it wasn't even their place to invite someone else, and it wasn't like she would be able to eat anything at the Benihana anyways, so they literally didn't even think they were being rude. According to Sam, they were purposefully excluding her and that no one likes her and that this was just like it was in high school. She didn't have very many friends and we were just becoming privy to why exactly that was. Incident 3 was the friendship bracelets. She ordered these semi-expensive bracelets for me and Jess, but mysteriously Jess broke in the mail and the replacement would totally come any day now. Jess pretended not to be hurt, but it obviously stung when she would fawn over our bracelets and how we are such great friends. Spoiler: the bracelet never came. Now I was still trying to smooth things over, but it kept getting worse and worse. If I was hanging out with Andy or Jess, she wouldn't speak to me, but would only talk it when we were alone. During all of this, Andy and I kept getting closer and eventually started dating, but low-key caused the whole situation with Sam, and we didn't want to set her off. I know we were spineless back then. Now for the catalyst for the revenge. She was a wannabe YouTuber, and wanted to do a holiday video. Andy is a film major, but he doesn't want anything to do with her after all her lies and petty behavior. But then she made an offer we couldn't refuse. "I'll give you $200 and pay for food," and for what should have been an hour or two of filming we were sold. I was set to manage the site, since that's my personality, is get it done, and he was in charge of filming. He worked so hard on it, y'all. He storyboarded, he made a script for her, he got all his equipment together. I was so proud of him. I contacted the diner where we were filming and got everything together, and we were set. Filming day arrives and we get our hair and makeup done for the actors and actresses, and we all get to the diner an hour before, at her insistence, and set up. She says she'll be 30 minutes late, and so we decide to eat after shooting some B-roll. Guess how long it took her and her entourage to arrive? 2 whole hours. We finally get filming, and if you're counting, we have been at the diner for 4 hours, pre-filming. We spend another 2 hours filming, and we have to take after pics in our outfits and everything. Did she pay for our food? Nope. And she tells Andy, "You got a big payday coming, you deserve more than 200 for today." Hess happy cause he wanted to take me out for a nice date for the holiday, but spoiler again, she didn't pay up. So a week or 2 goes by and it gets closer and closer to holiday, and we already turned over all the footage, we are just waiting for payment. Then came the excuses: "I don't trust Zell, I'm waiting for my auntie to pay me, my aunt's in the Caribbean right now and she doesn't trust Zell either." We kept hounding her for the money, and the holiday came and went. She posted the video and stopped answering texts. Since we all lived together, I confronted her and more excuses. Then she said give her 2 more weeks. During those 2 weeks, she told everyone who would listen that she already paid us and that we were terrible people to try and extort her for more. Now at this point in the year, we are fed up with her, and Andy is ready to write the 200 off. He beaches to his smoking buddies, and the smoking buddies get our side of the story out to the relatively small school, and pretty soon she doesn't have a leg to stand on. She gets nasty, texting me all this BS about how Andy is cheating on me and that I deserve better, and screenshots of their conversations where he supposedly tells her how he'd rather not be committed. Now, we had some commitment issues in the beginning, on both sides, but she tried to present these texts as recent, not stuff from months ago. The final straw was when she called me stupid and naive for staying in the relationship despite him being a greedy man. Now I was going scorched earth. For some background on Sam. She was a chronic cheater, like get drunk at a party and give a guy a blowjob, cheater, then go out the next weekend and do it again. She was also married. She and her husband got married right out of high school, which is typical of army guys in my experience. The ink wasn't even dry on the marriage certificate, less than a year when she burned us. But I was someone she chose to confide in, since she thought I was too stupid to see through her after all the acid she put us through. So I gathered evidence, all the cheated, the videos of her doing acid at parties, sex with various guys, the drinking binges, and her acid talking her loving army boyfriend. I gathered all of this information for more than a year. I felt horrible for the guy, but I needed a file that would damn her to legal hell. D-Day arrived when, about a year and a half after I met her, she told me that she thought her husband was cheating, as when he was deployed she found a video on his phone of him and his buddy dancing on some girls in a club. Sam was livid. She was cursing and swearing she would take him for every cent in court for cheating on her. Never mind that she was blowing guys for fun every other weekend. I asked her if she had proof, and she said that proof doesn't matter, they always believe the hurt wife. I complied all my evidence and wrote a very long apology letter for waiting this long, and sent it anonymously. Sam didn't return to school the next year and I kinda lost track of her. I got reminded when my fiancée showed me that terrible video we did for her. I confessed what I did and we social media stalked her accounts. She now posts a lot of single and loving it memes, and she has a few vlogs talking about fake friends and how simple living is the best. I guess that's a consequence of losing her luxurious rich girl lifestyle that her husband's family provided for her. Looking at her ex-husband's page, he has a beautiful wife and a baby on the way, looking way happier than it ever see him. Edit. TL. Dr. So yeah, don't be a BTCH and short people $200. It'll cost you your husband, your cushy lifestyle, respect, and 1 year of untransferable credits at an out-the-ass expensive school.